Do you need like a mic or anything or no?
No,
That's that little nut sticking up there.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Isn't it good?
Nice.
All right, friends, welcome to Everest Grad Defense. We are going to start with the panel. Let's start down here at the end this time and come this way. Just introduce yourself, say hi so others know who he's talking to. Everest, you're going to start when they're done, and then we'll open it up for questions. Okay.
Hi, Everest. My name is Jackie Branch. I work for Human Resources at Spokane Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Levine. I also work at Spokane Public Schools, and I'm also an HR specialist.
Hi there, I'm Kenji Lenendui, and I'm not an HR specialist. I work for the League of Education Builders Foundation, or ed advocacy nonprofit. I'm also Tammy's son.
Yeah, I recognize that last name.
Hi, I'm Scott. I've been teaching at Eastern Washington University since 1992, so I'm a dinosaur out there. But I get paid to do my hobby, and I love being an educator. I teach Africana Studies and Education.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Shamarika Nakamura. I'm the Restorative Practice and Beloved Community Manager. It's like such a mouthful of my name. For Spokane Public Schools, my job is basically to create spaces of belonging for students.
Well, awesome. I thank each of you in the audience and in the panel for being here for my my grad defense, my last exhibition. I know you probably are all quite busy lives, but yeah, I thank you all for being here. Yeah. Who or sorry. Okay. So first and foremost, my name is Everest, and who am I? Well, I'm someone who loves. Wait, sorry, wrong slide. Okay, who am I? Okay, who am I first and foremost? Well, I am someone who loves to look into ideas. I'm someone who loves to look into what makes us tick. I love ideas. I love people. I'm a people person, and personally, Personally, I consider myself a bit of a learner. I consider myself an investigator, and I consider myself, at heart, a detective. That's what I want to do long term, but energetically, in many ways, I consider myself a detective personally. Now, when I look at who I am, well, let's look at that. Who am I? I love to talk is an understatement. I personally am enraptured with the human experience, what it means to live, what it means to laugh, the ideas of life and death. And the one constant in all of those is the idea of change. We all have to go through it at some point or another, whether it's change in life, change in station. But when I look at myself through the lens of change, if we want to call it that, I don't really think that I have. I think that I'm pretty much the same person that I've always been. In fact, I would go a step further. I think that every person in this room is the same person that they have always been since the moment they were born. And I understand how contradictory that might sound. I mean, I'm here talking to you all saying how adult I am and how much I've grown and what kind of person I've turned into. But what I mean is that at our core, we are who we are. And as we mature and as we grow, we just learn new tricks. We develop our strengths, we develop our weaknesses. And that's really all I felt that I've done these last 4 years and will be doing for the rest of my life. I feel that in many ways I'm the exact same freshman who, when I walked through the door, I thought that working with people was not something I really even needed. I thought I could do it all on my own. I would love to pick arguments with people because I like getting a rise out of them, or anything else I'd like to do. It's just now I know how to take those traits, which some might consider positive or not positive, but I know how to put them, which in a certain light are negative, to a more positive and productive way, you know? So I feel that over the course of my high school experience, that's all I've really learned how to do. I've learned how to take who I am and make it something that can work for myself and everyone around me. Now, I can't talk about my educational journey without talking about the first step of that journey, which was choosing to come to Spokane, Washington. See, before coming here, I was living in California in 2019. I'd originally gone to a very small private elementary school. There was like 80 kids, I think, like maybe even less than that. And coming here was a big change. Me and my family, we came here for work, and we came here for opportunity. It was an entirely new feel. I was living in a small town, and a big city like Spokane is a very new change. But the biggest change probably for me day to day was starting middle school. I was really excited, and I was interested in starting a huge, big middle school with lots of kids, and my excitement turned very quickly into abject horror. There were a there was 800 kids at Sacagawea Middle, and honestly, I didn't like it. There was more than 10 times the amount of my original school. There were people everywhere. I was changing classes every single hour. That structure really didn't work for me. And even though I wanted to make a connection, and I had been very good at making connection and friends with people before, it's just that here, it was so impersonal. It was so loud and crowded and hot. But despite that, all I could feel was lonely and cold. It was not the place for me. However, I stuck to it. I thought, hey, I'm going to take this situation and turn, even though it's not very good right now, I'm going to turn it for the best. I have no one I like to talk to, no one I even really like to look at. I am going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to focus on my academics, and that is exactly what I did. I became a very studious academic student. I pretty much spent almost all my time in one of the teacher's classes. I'd be doing my homework while eating lunch. I'd be asking them questions, trying to learn as much as I possibly could. And even though that sounds a little sad, I actually found it very fulfilling. I thought it was really interesting, and I did eventually succeed in making a few friends at the very end of my middle school experience. COVID and online schooling made it incredibly hectic and didn't make it any better. But I knew that after middle school, I wanted something more. I wasn't going to do the 1,000 students to a high school experience like before with middle school. I wanted something better, but I wasn't really too keen on high school to begin with. So I remember it was like 2 days before the start of high school, my mom told me about the community school, the school I ultimately decided to go to. She told me about the very small class sizes, which I immediately liked. She told me about the project-based learning, about the focus on teamwork and building community, something I knew that I needed. I don't think I did like a single, not one group project my entire time at middle school, and even if I did, probably was very small, but I don't remember. Anyway, I was really interested in it, and I decided to go. And at first, I'm not going to lie, even though I was interested in becoming better at making community and making friends with people, it was still very difficult for me. I was still trapped in my almost isolationist mentality. It's me against the entire world. I need no one, but not at the community school. It took me a while, but the community school opened me up to a lot of new ideas, not just about working with other people, but things I didn't even really know about myself. It gave me a chance to grow. One of the things I learned is that I love feedback. I love reflecting. One thing we do at the end of almost all our projects is we reflect back on how that worked. We look at ourselves, we look at the project, we look at the people we worked with, and we decide how that went and how that made us feel and what we can learn going forward to become better. And I really loved that. That system worked very well for me. I also loved presenting and talking, and that naturally just fit for me. However, one thing I've learned over the course of my, 19 years being alive is not every strength is a strength and not every weakness is a weakness. Sometimes a strength is a weakness sometimes a strength is what seems like a strength to you is actually a weakness, but in the situation you're in, it makes it grow. Same thing vice versa. A weakness might be just a strength that in the situation you're in isn't helping you the best that it can. And that's what I learned in many ways. I learned that especially in regards to, like I said, I love to talk, but I just didn't really know how to not talk. I loved nothing more than whenever we were having a group discussion, I would play the contrarian position. I'd always be like, actually, I think exactly opposite than you, because I thought it was just fun. I enjoyed engaging in arguments. I enjoyed going on and on about whatever topics that I felt would be fun at the time, even regardless of any sort of context. And that was very enjoyable for me. But after a few harsh reality hits and lessons from my dear facilitator, Nate, over there, I learned that was not going to work at all. Took a little bit of self-reflection, but I understood that I want people to like me, and I want to like people. And I wanted to connect with them. Me arguing with people or me being the contrarian with people was me wanting to connect with them. I was just connecting with them in the only way that I really knew how or that I wanted to. That was the most fun way for me to, but at the expense of people thinking I was a jerk. They thought that I was like some malcontent who didn't want to connect with them. I wanted to be whatever with them. And it took a while, like I think like the latter half of my freshman year, I devoted almost all my time, well, not all my time, but whenever I got a chance to interact with like a team or friends or anything like that, I'd always make it sure that I didn't come off too strong or I didn't come off the wrong way. And some people already had like their mindset about me, sure, but all I could do was try and present myself in the best way to the people that were willing to listen and hear me out. And due to that, I feel I developed very good teamwork skills. By the end of my freshman year, many of the goals that I'd set out to do when I first started had been, I mean, not complete, but I had made great strides in. My teamwork was much better, my community was much better, and I had people that I could call my friends, some of whom are in the audience right now, that I'm very grateful for. Now, going into my sophomore year, my main focus was on, once again, growing myself, but in growing myself, I noticed another weakness. Me and my facilitator ended up calling this weakness of mine holding court. During the middle of class, I would basically stand up, and when we were supposed to be working or doing anything, I would start going on and on and on about whatever topic I thought was fun at the time. Like whether it be, I would be talking about about Confucius and his golden rule. I'd be talking about Rome and how they invented walls around England. I would do pretty much whatever I wanted, and that again was not working. I had friends at the time who I did feel understand me, who I didn't really need to explain myself with them, so I felt very, not entitled, but I felt very safe at that point. I built a community, and at that point, I was kind of pretty lax in my growing experience at that point. However, the thing with that is, no one is going to listen to you if everyone doesn't understand you. So I wanted people to understand me more and more. So I made it a point to communicate with people whenever I got a chance to let them hear me out. But the one thing that got me short in that situation, in those situations, were my lack of patience with them and myself and my lack of discipline. What I needed was something beyond TCS, and that's exactly what I looked for. See, one of the main tenets of TCS is taking your education into your own hands, taking it by the whatever, and going after it, basically, making it your priority, and that's exactly what I wanted. I looked for people and things outside of TCS, like I was interested in a debate club for a little bit. That seemed very interested to me, but it didn't flesh out too well. So I had a long talk with my guidance counselor, Ashley, and she informed me of a program called New Tech Skill Center. If you're unaware, New Tech Skill Center essentially operates like a trade school. The school offers a myriad of programs that you can select from and that you attend basically half your day. Half your day you attend high school, half your you attend New Tech Skill Center. I thought that it was very interesting because it focused on professional growth in a workplace environment. That's something that spoke to me very well. The program that interested me most was criminal justice. I was already interested in the field. I think like at the time I wanted to be like a bounty hunter, so I thought it'd be I thought it'd be awesome to go and do that program. Also because it had like a very huge emphasis on discipline and hardship to grow you as a person, which spoke to me a lot. I felt that's what I needed. And even though like I had friends at this point, I had people that I wanted to see with and like, talk with and be around, I felt that going to New Tech would ultimately be fulfilling for me. Like it was a sacrifice worth making. And even though I grappled with it most of my sophomore year, I eventually decided that I needed to go there. And that's exactly what I did. Now, junior year was the very start of New Tech. I attended criminal justice, like I said, and I loved it tremendously. It was an incredibly interesting program. The emphasis on hard work and discipline and working together as a team was just amazing. And what I mean by that is you already work in a team at New Tech, or at TCS, but at New Tech, it operates like this. See, all the students are essentially put in one of 4 squads. The squad you're placed into consists of about 6 people. Those 6 people are going to be with you from the start to the end of the year. You bleed together, you die together, you do all that stuff together. When you triumph together. When you fail together. And that's sort of all like one for all, type of mentality of like no man left behind, I felt like was working great for me. I loved learning about the law. I loved learning about the opportunities in this field. We had many guest speakers who'd come in their careers and professions. I've met judges, lawyers, bondsmen, security guards, prison guards, all kinds of people, and all of whom have illuminated their experiences to me that have helped me gain a perspective on what I might want to do towards the future. However, that's only half of my experience in my junior year. The other half was going to TCS, and at that point, I was not doing too well in TCS. See, my main focus at that point was New Tech. I thought it was God's gift to me. I thought that it was like what I was going to do, basically. And for that reason, I was pouring almost all my energy into going to New Tech versus TCS. For that reason, my grades began to slip. I began to ignore the people that I already had commitments and relationships with too at TCS and outside and stuff. And even though I did mostly enjoy my New Tech and junior experience, it was a very harsh and rocky road for me to go through, and eventually, it took a while, but I did kind of get the hang of it towards the end. But at the end, it was just the end. There was nothing more I could do to improve what I'd already kind of failed at. So I told myself, going forward, take all that you've learned. Failure is the best teacher. You might not have been the best at time management, or energy management, or any of that, but you have 1 year left. You have one. It's your senior year. This is going to be your best year ever. And that's exactly what I told myself. And since then, I've told that to myself a million times. And honestly, my senior year has been. I loved my senior year because when I went in with 3 objectives. Objective number 1, I wanted to put myself in as many leadership positions as I possibly could. I hadn't really thought about it before, that leadership could possibly be fun or enjoyable or fulfilling. I thought it was like a hardship that, why do I have to be responsible for other people? That's dumb. I still had lingering bit of that mentality of I'm still in it for me, but I realized when I began my senior year, I was given an opportunity to become a squad leader. I could lead one of these 4 squads at my New Tech class. And I honestly loved it. It was one of my best experiences I've probably ever had in all of high school. Getting to lead 5 other students and getting them to do their work on time, learn required materials, sounded exhausting at first, but after a while I loved watching them grow as people, improve. That was just such a fulfilling experience for me that I honestly kind of regret not doing before that I wish I had done prior. My other priority in that was making sure that I valued TCS as equal as I did to New Tech. Now, I am a senior, and there is a condition called senioritis, which affects us quite hard, makes you not show up here and there. But I absolutely equally cared about both programs. I made sure that my grades were on par with my grades at New Tech, which is exactly what I did. I think I got a few points shy of being officially on the honor roll, but I am very proud of the commitment that I showed. I managed to also show quite a bit of leadership in regards even to TCS as well. I was able to uplift and empower some of my younger classmen who before, I remember I had one classmate of mine, we were working on a project together, and I remember I'd worked with them before 2 years prior. And in those 2 years, I told them that you have grown, because when I first worked with you, you were horrible. You sucked. But this time, you became a leader that I was proud to follow. That's what I told them. And honestly, I cannot, to everyone listening, if you want to be in a leadership position, or if that's even mildly interesting to you, do it, because it is so fulfilling. Not only did I do that, I made many fulfilling memories in my senior year. I can't really list all of them because not enough time, and I don't really think I have an absolute favorite, but there was one that I do quite fondly look at. It was a little bit ago, my New Tech class, we had a graduation ceremony of sorts, where I got to wave a flag around. I was congratulated for the 2 years that I put in of doing work and being a squad leader there. One of my squad mates, my cadets, was actually elected for best most improved student of the year, which I was incredibly proud of him. I told him that's amazing. And afterwards, me, my family, my mom, we went out for milkshakes and fries. And I remember my mom telling me how proud she was of me. I felt awesome, and going to bed that night, I was just thinking I'm so proud of everything that I've done. I am confident in the work that I have done and the work that I will do, and that the work I'm doing right now And for that reason, it's one of my favorite memories that I've made this year. Yeah. Now, going beyond high school, I've thought about it quite a lot. There are a million opportunities for me, especially now that I've been going to criminal justice class for 2 years now, and I've learned quite a lot. And I've learned about many job opportunities, many career chances that I can do and become, all of whom are very interesting to me. Now, in the long run, I think I mentioned in the beginning, I'm very interested in becoming a detective. Similarly to why I stated I love ideas, I love learning what makes people tick. And I think that in this position of investigating people and things and crimes, understanding them, I think for me that'd be incredibly fulfilling. Now, as of right now, directly beyond high school, I'm currently interested in becoming a 911 dispatcher. I feel that it's the heavy reliance on communication, which I do feel after these 4 years that I'm an excellent communicator, that I'd be able to do good in it. It also has an element of technology that I think that I'm not the best at, but that offers growth opportunities. It has stable pay, and it's connected to the criminal justice world. So I do feel that I have growth from that. That's very applicable to anything I want to do afterwards. The only real thing I need for that, I need to go through a few background checks, but the only licensing I need is a actual driver's license, which I am working on as well, getting my driver's license as of right now. And yeah, I will be living at home with my parents for at least a year or two, hopefully getting my own place at some point, getting a car, getting my license. Directly after high school, after graduation, I'm planning on going to a trip to Costa Rica for a week, which is going to be awesome. And yeah, I'm really excited for being an adult, for graduating high school, and yeah, thank you all for being here and listening.
Open it up to the panel.
All right, I'll start. First of all, fantastic presentation.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, I can tell that you are a people person from the minute that you started talking. And as a talker myself, I was like, that resonates. One other thing that resonated with me is talking about how you came from a small town and then you came to Spokane. I had a similar journey and understand that culture shock that happens therein. And then you mentioned that you stuck to it, stuck to middle school, kind of figured out a way forward. That kind of tied back into what you said at the beginning of you're always you at your core. And so I feel like all of those tenets that you talked about yourself were really apparent. And I think it was really astute and mature to realize that you've been sharpening your skills all this time, but still remain you. One question that I have for you is, did anybody at New Tech, were they specifically a 911 dispatcher? How did you kind of figure out that that was your pathway forward?
Oh yeah, well, the great thing, one of my favorite things about the class is my teacher arranges for dozens of guest speakers each year for them to come in, and they'll tell us about their experience. And I think I've met three 911 dispatchers since then. I went to a job fair that had them there too, that I talked to, so that just developed an interest for me. It's not I can't say that I have a direct plan, step by step, I do this, I do that, I do that. I have more so a general idea of what might be cool, of what I can get behind. And going down that route just seems very interesting to me from the people that I've talked to. They find it very fulfilling. And yeah, there's lots of opportunities for growth, which I'm all about.
Fantastic. I will say Jackie and I do go to a lot of hiring events, and we do see a lot of the 911 dispatchers, crime check people there, and they always have the best freebies. So we can look forward to that.
I wrote down so many quotes that you said. I was just trying to find
Awesome.
them. Yeah. I think you should be a motivational speaker. I'm so motivated right now.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, that was a great presentation, Everest. I think that you definitely have your career or your next steps planned out, which is perfect. My dad was a detective, and my sister was a 911 dispatcher, so.
Perfect.
There you go. Yeah, they both liked their jobs a lot. They were helping people, and so I can see that being a very good path for you. So
Thank you.
I look forward to it. I hope I get to hear what your next steps are. I'm excited for you.
Everest, that was, the first word there were fun and engaging.
Thank you, Kenji.
Definitely bring the energy. I've got a couple of, I think I could pick your brain for a while, but I've got a couple of questions.
Hit me.
One, talking about that you wanted to, step into leadership roles, do you feel that you've started to develop your leadership style, or what would you call your leadership style?
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for your question. Yeah, my leadership style, if you can call it that, is when you're in a leadership position, you also have to think about, okay, you have to get work done yourself too. You're leading people. Usually it's not just like your job is solely to lead people. You have responsibilities as well. So what helps me personally, like with my squad, is when I help them like study on something, I use them essentially as like study mates. Like as I'm teaching them, I'm teaching myself too, because I'm practicing on them basically. Another thing is I find it very important to make I guess technically two, but one of my cadets has a bit of a learning disability, so I find it very important to like give him as much positive affirmation as I can and include him with whatever I possibly can. Like even if it's minute, any information I can give him will help him. I also have to I know it's pretty simple, but at the end of the day, it's simple because it works. You just have to not hammer down, but you have to be kind of unyielding. Like whenever you get a chance, like, hey, do you want to work on this? Like whenever you get the chance, you have to do it as much as possible to make sure that they get as much as you can. Yeah.
Because you're so interested in just learning, one of my favorite aspects of the leadership world is this idea of followership. And you spoke about that indirectly, talking about the underclassmen that you worked on with that project. I encourage everybody to look into it, but I think you'd really enjoy it. I've also found that followership is a really great quality in really great police people. And officers, detectives, whatever level, who aren't great at their job typically don't understand the idea of followership. And I think that's true in most situations. I also wanted to ask if you were thinking about the practicing law at all.
Well, first and foremost, the best leaders are always the best followers. At least that's my experience. Now, as far as law is concerned, I think I mentioned a little bit about debate and me arguing and presenting. Wrap that all together. That's a lawyer in a nutshell. So yeah. So I definitely thought about that as a career at some point. I'm not sure if I want to, just because. Not to put any shade on the lawyer profession, but it takes years and years and years, and I don't want to spend 10 years of my life just becoming a lawyer. So I think maybe potentially down the road as I become older and because I'm still not 100%. Detective sounds awesome, don't get me wrong, but part of the reason 911 dispatch sounds good to me is because that gives me time to decide, hey, do I want to do that? Is there another thing? So yeah, no, I think a lawyer is definitely in practicing law in general, would definitely be in the ballpark for me.
You know, I've got a question. My colleague here to the right, we both were at Gonzaga University and brought up into a ideology or framework of servant leadership. And you know, many people think leadership is a matter of how well you can articulate things, organize, encourage others, have foresight. But the number one quality of a servant leader is the ability to listen. Now, in light of that, how would you assess the value of listening when it comes to leading others personally? Why do you think listening is the number one skill of a servant leader? What value do you see in listening as you have come from an introvert to a leader now?
Yeah, no, great question. So listening is something I've kind of struggled with, looking back at me, holding court, so to speak, and just talking. I was the one talking. You're all listening, whether you like it or not. I didn't care what you had to say. So, and from that, when you need whoever is under you, same reason why you want to have representation in government, from the people. You need people to hear you, to listen to you, basically, and the same thing vice versa. You need to hear the people you're under, because then how do you know to best serve them, to what their issues are, how you can help them, basically. So I think listening is an incredibly important skill, even outside of leadership, just in general, and it's something that I definitely want to work on. Again, 911 dispatch, listening to people, something I want to absolutely grow. It's all coming together. I think that you need to have good foundations. Same thing with the best leaders being the best followers. The best speakers are sometimes always the best listeners as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Everest, I really appreciated your presentation. My background is sociology and social work.
Love sociology.
So I'm trying to recruit you. So when I heard you talk about the human experience, I'm gonna be honest, I'm like, I don't know if I would have thought that in high school. So it was really interesting and intriguing to hear you talk about this idea of change and how like what we're really getting at as humans is this evolution, right? Like we're always staying true to our core values, it's just we're having different experiences and opportunities to unearth that, right? And kind of to unlearn the things that we've learned, and that's how we grow. So I really appreciated in your presentation you highlighting on that. And then also just like your self-reflection was very like, what do I want to say? Like I appreciated your self-reflection, and something you said that you found at TCS is